Our next guest is James Nichols of the Hockey Writers covering the New York Islanders. So let's get him in. James, welcome to the show.
Hey, guys. What's going on? Thanks for having me.
Nothing much. It's a pleasure to have you on. I'll let Stefan kick this one off because I started the last one with Jim. So Stefan, get to it.
First off, love the banner in the background.
Oh, thank you.
I knew that was coming.
We don't know who you're a fan of or following. It's all good. So I read your latest article where you and the Hockey Writers, the Island people that cover the Islanders, projected lines for next season, and you just elected to go with the young guys. You want to see the young guys play in Wahlstrom or Bellows on that third line, maybe even Ho-Sang. Out of all those guys, those players I just mentioned, do you think that they are all ready to take that next step, minus Ho-Sang? If you had to choose between Wahlstrom or Bellows, who do you think is more ready to make an impact right now?
It's an interesting situation right now just because, they're both up in the air. I don't think either of them really got a fair shot at the NHL level just because there was no consistency on that third line. So, J.G. Pajot wasn't there when both Bellows and Wahlstrom had their shot. So there was no third line center to consistently get that chemistry with. Now, the situation regarding Bellows as of recent, he was caught with the PEDs. I'm not sure whether, that has something to do with the uptick in his production in the AHL or not, and that's why he got the call up. So right now, in my opinion, I've had Wahlstrom ahead of Bellows for a while. So he would get the first crack at it if it was me making the lineup, but I don't get paid to do that. But I have Wahlstrom above Bellows. The jury's still out on both of them, though. But if I'm picking one to be closer, Wahlstrom, he looks really good over in the SHL right now. He had that unfortunate injury, but looks like he's going to be okay. I think Wahlstrom is better suited for that lineup. Now, regarding my article, I didn't even have Bellows starting in the NHL. I actually had Ho-Sang up there. I think there was a reason he was qualified. I think there was a reason why they settled in arbitration and everything. So I think he has a shot at maybe cracking the lineup on opening day. He's going to have to really impress, but there's a reason why he's back.
It was so interesting to see him file. I know Lou Lamoriello is very confused with it, but yeah. I mean, do you think that Ho-Sang, is going to be a difference maker and he could be that guy? Or do you think we're going to have more issues where he maybe gets a chance and then he's back in the AHL and then he bounces around and all that stuff?
I mean, listen, since he overslept in 2014, what has he really done that was so wrong? They've kept it under wraps, if anything, but we haven't heard anything. He's been completely compliant. He's been very good from the Thompson standpoint down in Bridgeport. So nobody has any complaints about him except for Islander fans. Nobody knows what's going on behind closed doors. But what we do know is that the on-ice production, it was pretty obvious. The team went 9-2 with him a couple of years ago when he played 11 games. He had a couple of points. He didn't look out of place. He did maybe have, one or two blips here and there, but nothing major. And I think, in talking about who are the Islanders going to bring in this offseason, is it going to be a Patrick Laine? Is it going to be a Mike Hoffman? There's always question to everybody's defensive game coming in, no matter who it is. So who's a better coach than Barry Trotz to mold a guy's defensive game? And why not Josh Ho-Sang, somebody who's internal, who's not going to cost you $7 million like Patrick Laine, $5 million like what I anticipate Mike Hoffman signing for. So I think that he has the offensive prowess, he has the speed, he has the agility, he has the silky mitts. So I really think that he has the potential to be a top six. I think he needs to start at bottom six with some consistency. And you have a guy like J.G. Pajot centering the third line who could make up for the defensive mistakes that maybe, might come. But I he's been around. He's had a crack at it. He's over 20, 30 games now. He might be able to make a name for himself. He has to make a name for himself this year if it's going to be any time.
And I think the unfortunate thing was he sort of got lost in the Barzal shadows because when he first came up, it was must-watch TV. When he has the puck on his stick,
right,
you have to watch. And then Barzal came and pretty much said, I'm just a better Ho-Sang. And then all the eyes were on him and the oversleeping, the, hard to coach, quote unquote, which is what was said about him, really put him just underneath in the depth charts where he just really didn't get the chance.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think all those things are in the past. I think you can leave those in 2014, 2015, because, again, Thompson's had nothing but glowing reviews about him. His teammates love him. He obviously produces when he's on the ice. But like I like that you said that he has a Matt Barzal-esque ability. He does. He's got the speed. He knows how to pass. He might pass a little too much, and Matt Barzal's guilty of the same thing.
Yeah.
But he's a kid. He's got to learn. He's 24 years old. So you see guys around the league who get their chances. Who knows if Braden Point never got a chance to step into a lineup for when Steven Stamkos got hurt? Would he be this big superstar, or would he still be buried in the NHL? So at some point, these guys need a chance, and I think this is the absolute perfect time for Josh Ho-Sang to just take that chance, grab it, and run with it. Yeah, he has to. This is his absolute last opportunity.
Yeah, but I would agree with that statement. It is his last opportunity. And the guy who's on that opposite end of the spectrum now is Johnny Boychuk. And what's the latest on him? Obviously, the Islanders in a cap crunch.
Yeah,
they need to move that type of contract. So what's the latest on Boychuk?
Yeah, so it's still very quiet. Very Lou Lamoriello, and we'll never really know. But the word is that they are still, trying to make something happen. You're probably going to see something like similar to how Mark Stahl was moved to Detroit with a consolation pick. That was the price that they had to pay to move that contract. Unfortunately, we did see Devin Tays on the move to Colorado. We got the 2 second-round picks, and I anticipate those 2 picks being attached to Boychuk because of the extra year on his contract. We'll see. I'm not exactly sure if that is going to happen. I do know that it was in the works, but a lot of things were in the works, and I'm not really sure, what direction Lou wants to go in, just because I don't think he knows yet, and he has to figure out Ryan Pulock. He has to figure out Matt Barzal. So until Pulock, and that's Friday, is resolved, I think once that domino falls, the rest are going to start falling, and we'll start seeing things happen. You see guys like Brassard was in talks to re-sign. Kuhnhackl was in talks to re-sign. Schneider was in talks to come to the Islanders. And Lou, not something he normally does, even said, it's a possibility that these things might happen. So once one domino falls, I think the rest will. But I still believe Boychuk won't be in an Islander jersey this year, this upcoming season, and it breaks my heart because he was unreal. He was a true Islander to heart, just as much as Thomas Greiss. I would like to see him go somewhere where he has an opportunity to still win. I mean, the Islanders, I think, are still there, and they will be for a while. But to answer your question, there is nothing right now. Lou is still working on it, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, to touch on that, we had actually talked about a couple of weeks. I think it was last week or the week before that Johnny Boychuk and a second maybe to a team that needs cap that could take on that cap space would be something similar to a Mark Stahl move. And as much as fans want to see Devon Taves, the 2 second-round picks gotten for him, be used on actual prospects and to keep that farm system healthy, it looks like it's going to be used to keep that cap room open.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if they're going to try and keep one of those picks just because. They're short, some picks in this upcoming draft.
Yep.
I believe a 3rd round pick as part of the JG Peugeot trade. But if it was, if I was a betting man, and I'm not, but if I was, I would say that both of those picks are going to be on the move with Boychuk. Just they need the salary dump.
Yeah, I would agree, and I'm thinking Ottawa too. You look at them; they have cap room. I mean, Detroit has cap room, but I don't know if I want to take on another guy like a Mark. I mean, I think Boychuk is an upgrade from Mark Stahl, but they're both leaders, and that's really why they're on. Like, that's why Mark Stahl is on Detroit. They could take the cap, but also he's got to be a mentor to this. This is a very young team, a lot of ton of prospects. But going back to Pulock, like you said, Friday is the big day for arbitration. Once one domino falls, they all should. What are you thinking a contract is going to look like for Pulock?
It's a good question. A couple of people have tweeted this at me, asked me what my opinion was on it. Someone had said to me, Tony DeAngelo just signed for 2 years, $4.8 million a year. That's good news for Ryan Pulock, right? And I was like, it's a negotiation factor maybe, but I think that in the end, Ryan Pulock will end up making more than Tony DeAngelo just because Pulock is the number 1 defenseman. He has a lot more tools in his arsenal than Tony DeAngelo. Tony DeAngelo is a great player. He had 50 points last year, but his game really ends in the offensive zone. He's pretty bad in his own end. And I know Brendan's shaking his head.
We
He agrees. I know.
Just ask Sebastian Aho. Yep.
But I think that he'll probably want somewhere near 5.56 for 5 years. I'm gonna say they maybe settle in a 5.2, 5.3 range. And I'm gonna say between 4 and 5 years.
That doesn't allow much room for Barzal to get much unless they move some pieces.
Right. And I think that's when you see those dominoes start falling. Okay, Pullock signed for X amount of money. Now we got to make sure that this happens. Lou Lamoriello might be saying to himself, I want to hold on to these assets as long as possible to see if I can keep as much as I can. And then, okay, I need to clear cap. Pullock is signed. I need to sign my superstar. You can take the 2 second-round picks, and we'll make it work from here on out.
Yeah, Lou Lamoriello made it clear that he said he wants to keep the team intact. That was one of his main things. But obviously, with the flat cap and everything like that, that's not as doable as it looked like it was going to be before the pandemic hit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is a direct result as to why Devin Taves was on the move. I can guarantee you, September 2019, when the drawing board was up and Trotz and Lamoriello were looking at the team, Taves was part of the long term, the distant future. Unfortunately, the world we're living in now, money's tight, the cap is flat, and they were forced really to move Devin Taves. And a lot of people didn't like the trade, and I get why.
I liked it.
Listen, right, and I get why people didn't like it. But you look at what Nate Schmidt got in return. It was just a 3rd-round pick to Vancouver. Great for Vancouver. They could have probably got a little bit more if they shopped him around a little bit. I love Devin Taves. I think he's a great player. I think Nate Schmidt is a little bit better than he is right now. Maybe Devin Taves could become a better Nate Schmidt, but I think that the Islanders got a really good return for him, and it will end up benefiting them in the long run.
I mean, you knew out of all the RFAs, if one person was going to be the odd man out, it was going to be Taves. So
yeah, I mean, I wrote an article, I want to say about a month and a half ago, and I just kept placing Devin Taves in trade situations, just because, again, this era of flat cap and unknown about what's going to happen in the future, being able to negotiate your own contract with a player really seemed like it was something that GMs were going to want to do. So trading for an RFA, I thought was a perfect situation. And lo and behold, Devin Taves was on the move.